Hello, my name is Sean O'Reilly. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for clicking onto this video. So this video is going to be about how to do the work. So as an introduction, I've been in this space for about 3 years of consciousness, spirituality, and looking at it from a practical perspective as well as applying it. Before that, I was coming from a space of attachment to materialism, productivity, achievement, performance, in that self-improvement space, very wounded, trying to be wanted, not being rejected, avoiding any sort of abandonment, so a lot of self-isolation, social anxiety, shyness, lack of confidence, really overextending myself and feeling that I'm not worthy enough until I had any sort of physique or woman, any sort of circumstance that we might see within society in terms of we have it together. So I was constantly chasing that, but it was never something I energetically believe I could have ever achieved back then, because it was coming from an absolute space of shit going on within my mind. So I came across some work. Peter Crone was the first guy that I came across for the mind, which we'll be focusing on today, as well as the body, which I received a method as well from my shaman. Absolutely fantastic work. So what I'd like to first start off with is doing the work. Like, what does that actually mean? And for me, the way that I would put it is, it's liberating the soul. It's getting down to the absolute roots. It's working with awareness, bringing what we are not currently aware of from subconscious up to conscious. And it's looking at an integration, any sort of energetic shift with that. So that might include identity beliefs, meditation, receiving any sort of realization, sitting with what triggers us, self-inquiry, questioning, is this who I truly am? What's going on? Why does this piss me off? Any sort of questions with that. And really what doing the work is, it's to have an embodiment as well as these realizations and these shifts that we're going to experience. That for me is part of the human experience. This entire purpose here is to liberate our own souls, the own true essence of who we truly are. So there's a great quote that I live by. I received this from Peter Crone, and it's Michelangelo was he was being interviewed by the statue of David that he created, and the interviewer asked him, how did you create David? Like, this is an absolutely impeccable, profound art that you did. And Michelangelo responded back with, well, David, he was already there. I was only chipping away the parts of him that were not him. And that's really what this work is all about. That's really how we live this world of, we have the essence of who we are, and then on top of that, we have this limited conditioning, behaviors that don't serve us, how we view ourselves, how we show up. So to put it simply, the coding within us, part of it is incoherent. And all we're doing is just coherency. So you might have horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical. And really what we're doing is vertical the entire way across. Flow. Any sort of resistance, tension, whatever is blocking us, that's okay. That's absolutely part of the journey. That's something that we were to experience duality. When we realize that there's a shadow self in the first place, when we stop acting from the complete egoic programmed self and we start to open up the door to new light, then that's the start of the journey. Then that's where we can start to apply that work. We are all on our own journeys. The way we have unique DNA is the way we have unique methods and paths. And so there's no advice that's really ever going to be given in such a sacred space, but more guidelines, more methods, more sharing one's perspective, and that this might work for someone else. And with this work, I've tailored it into my own. I've put my own twist on it, which I'll share very soon. And what works for me might not work for you. So you might watch this video and you might absolutely love it. You might watch this video, try the techniques, do it for a few days, weeks, months, years, and then change it. You might watch it and you might feel inspired or have the self-trust within you that has been activated to do what you have learned before, whatever that is. So I'm really sharing what has worked for me. It is practical. I have noticed some massive shifts along with it, and it really gets down to the meat. It gets down to the absolute root. It's a shift. When to explain how it works, it's better if we're to experience it first. There's going to be a logical sense to it that will place the ego if there's any sort of fear or judgment along with that. But really, it's also to honor every part of us, to be aware, to observe what's going on at all times. So what this work is, it's two parts. We focus on the mind first, and then we're going to focus on the body. And before we do that, I want to explain why the mind and body, they're essential, both of them, and they're both unique in their own ways. So when we look at the mind, we hold this view of ourselves. That's really what it is that we're always up against, our own view of ourselves. So to get down to the root of it, we hold identity beliefs. I'm not wanted, I'm not loved, I'm not good enough, I don't matter, I am bad, whatever that really is. And then that is energetically the space that we act upon. And that's subconscious. It's not something that we are actually aware of. And then when we look at the body, we have the nervous system. We have these emotions that are stored within us. We have the vagus nerve. We have all of this tension and emotion that we have stored within us. And a lot of the times, for most of us, there might be some emotions, if not all, that we actually don't even know how to feel, to express in the first place. We might label it, we might be able to, yeah, that's this, but we don't actually know how to feel into that. And that's why for me it's so important. We cannot access the mind if the body is in such a fight or flight mode that anything that is said mentally, it will not register if we're just on complete edge the entire time. The same way is we might get down to the root and identify any sort of mental limitation, and that will give some releases. It's what I've experienced myself. But again, there's got to be that time, there's got to be those moments, and it's going to happen simultaneously. It's going to be a balance, and that balance is something for everyone to find on their own. I can't give a logical reasoning or a system as, okay, do this, then this, then this. Again, it's only guidelines with that. But there's going to be times where we honor the mind, and we get down to the root of it, whatever's causing us that suffering. And then it's just feel, just literally sit there with the body. I just sit like this sometimes and just fucking cry my eyes out. So, and sometimes it is hours. And the reason why I do that is because it's the biggest shift. The biggest shift that we could ever have in reality is by shifting ourselves. We want to change how we show up for health, relationships, wealth, our own purpose. It starts with us. It's coming to more clarity, and that's going to be achieved. That's going to be allowed in this dimension when we can honor both aspects. The body, the emotion, is what is carried within the physical reality. The mind, well, that's the connection between the body and between our higher selves on the spiritual realm. So for more of the theoretical part of this video, I do recommend to check out my first video. It will help, it will make a lot more sense. This is the practical guide to it of how that actually works. But for me, when we can look at the intellectual first, as what we're really doing here is stripping away the parts of us that aren't actually us and tapping into the essence, the soul of who we truly are, activating that and allowing that to really come online. When we can truly understand that, then this work is a lot easier because it's the identity beliefs. We're not doing anything, we're not accumulating, we're taking away. We're taking away the parts of us that don't serve us, that were never actually who we are, okay? So I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you an example from my life. If we go back to the very first time when I started this work was about 3 years ago. So what we're doing here is, okay, looking at it practically. It's about any sort of trigger, anything within our reality that we feel is incoherent to who we really are. Any sort of negative emotion that might come up and it keeps popping up. So if we were to look at a time in your life right now where there's a lot of resistance or there's a difficulty, there's a feeling of stuckness. So for me, it would have been constantly having to prove myself, going through burnout, doing as much work as possible, feeling like I'm not doing enough work. I have to be extremely productive, very disciplined in a space of self-improvement. So we're just having the awareness of that. Like there's a big weight there, okay? And it's really just sitting with that, coming to awareness of it and to honor what is there. And it's going to be uncomfortable. There might be some fear there. We might feel some emotion. And again, I'll talk about the emotion when we get to the body and how to use this intertwiningly. But for now, focusing on the mind, it's to honor what is there, because it's not actually us. There's no fear that defines us. It's only the program, the system that we have learned through input and acting from that space. But if it's not life-threatening, it's ego-threatening. And if it's ego-threatening, then that's the biggest illusion of them all. So what we will do is, when we come to awareness of that, we're going to look for a pattern. We're going to ask ourselves, where have we learned this? Where is the first time that this has really came up? We're going to self-inquire and we're going to get very curious. I want you to think of it as, see the top of this pen? This is the ego. And it's looking out. It's looking out here. It's looking out there. And it's commenting on the world. A lot of projections, judgments, commentaries, whatever that looks like. And then most people, they only look out there. Why? Because when the ego starts to look inwards, or in this case it's me, then there's fear. Because the ego is identity. It's literal an identity. It holds everything. And any sort of disillusion of an identity, or for the ego, that's death. It's an identity of death, which show up a completely different person, uncertainty. So that's where fear lies. And it's why most of us never actually transform, because we don't look at the absolute core, the absolute root of it. We might do things that are in the realm of healing or trying to shift something. Maybe it's a massage or positive affirmations or meditation, but meditation not done in a way that serves us spiritually, but more for relaxation, because we don't actually, most of us don't know how to meditate either, unfortunately. Whatever way that looks like, when we start to look at ourselves and we start to connect the dots, look at that identity, then it starts to dissolve. So I'm going a bit off topic here. However, when we connect the pattern together, so in this case it would have been me trying to strive, always trying to get validation, improve myself. That was in entrepreneurship, that was in the gym, feeling like I couldn't have any sort of relationship, never mind a romantic, but just any relationship or be friends with anyone, because I had a superiority and inferiority complex, and I'm not going to have enough time to work on myself so that I can be okay with myself. And if I was okay with myself, well, then I can have relationships, but only after. So what you would do is you connect the dots. It's like, okay, so where did I feel this in the past? It's like, right, well, it was around performance, let's say, and it was around trying to prove myself, and it was around being so driven, just so incredibly driven. And it's just sitting with that. It really is just sitting with that. And it's going deeper again. Okay, so what memory? And it's more of a memory. At the start of this work, it's going to be a memory. There's going to be memories there that are buried. If you've done any sort of therapy before and you've looked in the past, great. If then you've come into some awareness and those memories that you might have looked at and picked at, well, they're within this work, those big ones, there's different perceptions, there's different internalizations that we would have made about them for the most part, that we've made about ourselves, and then that's how we carry as an identity, walking around as to that's who we think we are, and we show up energetically then from a space that is not serving us. So for me, it would have been, bullying was a big part for me growing up. But again, it's what we perceive. The question whether I was bullied or not categorically in the first place, it doesn't matter. It's what that inner child felt and thought at that time. What I hear a lot of people when coaching them is that, oh yeah, but like my parents, like they were just doing the best they can, and like they didn't have the resources, and like when I look at their experience of them growing up, like fuck me, they had no other way. And it's beautiful, and that's a brilliant, essential part of this work that is to be embodied. However, it's a step ahead most of the time, because there's still a child there that didn't feel wanted, didn't feel loved, whatever version of that. And again, for my part, if we look at it from bullying, there will be memories of being hit or being on the football team and being called XYZ names. And so I would just sit with that memory, and there'll be emotion that will come up. And it might take some minutes for any sort of memory to actually come up, but just ask questions, ask it softly, and really just have that compassion, that forgiveness there. So, and just to reiterate, we're looking at the present moment and we're connecting it to the past. We've learned it, okay? So when I look at those memories, I would then ask myself, okay, or just one specific memory, okay, what did I conclude about myself? What did I take away based on that experience? It might be surface level at first. It might be, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not accepted, I'm not liked, rejection, or judgment. But we want to get down to the absolute deepest root. And that's the I am statements. And I know I've just mentioned I am statements there, but we're looking for a real emotional identity that we carry along with that. And so for me, that was, I am not wanted. I am not wanted. And there's others too that I had carried just from some of those specific memories. But in this case, we'll just say, I am not wanted. And usually what would happen is, and we're gonna try some on. Like there's all of them. There's a wide range here. I have a sheet somewhere, and I can't find it. But basically, it's I am a burden, or I am bad. I am not loved. I don't matter. I am not liked. I am hated. It's all of them. And to just sit there and to get very present with the self, and to sit with that, to be with that. And you'll know it's a root, because there's going to be emotions there. And when you say it, you're going to be, yeah, that's how I've showed up. That's who I've came across as. And when you just sit with it, you just allow it to be there, it's going to get uncomfortable. There might be different memories that come up. There might be thoughts. There's going to be a thought that you're going to go on your phone, or you're going to be like, right, I got to go do something. No, sit with it. That's the last defense for the ego. That's an ego debt. like I want you to really understand that. Like, just if there's a child 5-6 years old and who they are, they have learned that they can actually be themselves, because if they are themselves, well, they're going to get hurt by it, and that they got to change themselves. Like that's so deep, that's so big, and all of us have experienced that. Like, that's literally part of the experience. If we didn't experience that, and again, it's not so much that we have experienced it. For me, I believe that we've came here with them. Like, we chose all of this. We chose absolutely all of it. We came here with these limitations, and energetically, those limitations are going to show up in reality, and reality is going to show us. It's a mirror, going to reflect those back onto us, so that when we have the courage, the openness, the humility to look inwards at ourselves and to self-inquire, then we can identify what sort of feeling energetically we resonate with that, and what intellectual thought we have internalized of ourselves based on those experiences. And when we do that, then we're going to ask some questions. How have I learned to show up? Where else in my life have I showed up this way? And just sit with it. Just sit with it. What is it like to live in a world where I am not wanted? And it's going to be thoughts, maybe of the present moment. You might get memories from a few months, years ago. There might be other memories that come up within childhood. And just as a reminder, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. It's something you have learned. It feels very real, it can. To just be there, back in that space. It's something that we have learned. It's a literal pattern. Why? While giving you the awareness of it. Where we have identified that from is the present. And that present moment, we've connected it to the past. Therefore, our present moment, how we show up, feelings, thoughts, actions, well, it's a program that we've learned in the past. That we're not wanted, we're not loved, whatever sort of internalization. There's loads. And they're very specific. They're very specific. And that's why I can coach people to identify a few, like the big, broad, general ones. But it comes to a moment then where a lot of the times it doesn't make such logical sense for the mind as to why it was conceived that way. So another example would be when it was about 2 months ago, and for the past 3 years, even longer, but evidently the past 3 years, every time I did something that I really liked, there was creation there. There was a chance to make it my purpose, a living, get paid for it. There would just be so much anxiety, so much stress and pressure. And I was like, fuck this, I'm going to sit with it. Because I ran away from it for 3 years. And for 3 weeks, I just sat with it, doing it with the body. And I was like, where? And I went through my process. And it's the first time I went through the process step by step, because I was so good at it that I actually forgot some of the steps, or not forgot, but I just chose not to do them. And I went through the process, and instantly, within 2 minutes of just sitting with it this time, it just came out of nowhere. I'm going to lose everybody. And that was in relation to work. And I just cried. I just let it all out. I just observed it and I let it all there. Because the reason why I say, like, just to observe it and just let it all come out, if you look at the other video, on the other side of that, it's a dissolution. When we can identify it and allow it to be there, it's going to dissolve. Because we realize it's not an absolute truth, which I'll go into the process now. But it's to look at the soul. It's to allow the essence, again, as I said, to come out. That's going to come out more and more when the identity is dissolved. So we're going to ask ourselves those questions. How have we showed up energetically? How am I coming across? What sort of circumstances come up where I can kind of see this? And then an exercise that I have received from Peter Crone, again, absolute magical human being, where he says something great. And he'd sit with the person, the client, and he would say, where were you born? And they would say, Ireland, for example. I was like, okay, so Sean O'Reilly, born in Ireland, am I going to find a manufacturing label that says you're not wanted? I was like, no. And then when you just realize, like, okay, so where is that? Like, the I am not wanted, literally. So well, it's in my mind. And what's it made out of? Well, it's words, it's sound, it's language. So we can then say that the language that we carry within us, well, that's how we've shown up our entire lives. If you want to look at it deeper, it's how we've attracted this entire reality. Because who we've shown up today, or if we look at my circumstance, the pressure, the not being good enough, I have to achieve more. Well, this all came from, I'm not wanted. And the reality has to show up back. And when we get down to the root core of that, and we realize it's not a truth, and it starts to dissolve, and that might take some time, especially for the first few, because they're going to be the big ones, they're going to be the most evident. There's going to be a big shift. Massive, massive shift. Why? Because I want you to see it as a tree. We have identity at the root. And then at the trunk, we have like the beliefs. On top of that, we have feeling. On top of that, we have thought. On top of that, we have action. And at the very top, we can say we have reality. Like the reality is a feedback, it's the mirror of the below. Or there's 6 that I've mentioned, 5 or 6. But everything above the identity was created from the identity. So if I am not wanted, then I might have a belief that all women are bad, or I don't like people, or I am very introverted. Because if I'm not wanted, well, I would self-isolate. Well, I would talk to women and approach them, and they would show me that I am not wanted by, what is a good example? Either just being rejected by them, or they wouldn't really talk to me. Like energetically, it's just how I would show up. Like it's not something I'm conscious of, but before, energetically just showing up as I'm not wanted. And so the thoughts that will come with that is, I need to work harder, gotta be successful, gotta be more disciplined. The actions that I would take then would be to go to the gym, make more money, feeling guilty for relaxing. And there's just a whole lot of conflict then that would come with that. Again, just feeling like I'm not doing enough, that I can't relax, that this has to succeed, a lot of should-haves, could-haves, beating myself up, can't just enjoy myself and be in the present. But that was all coming from the identity of that I am not wanted. It was all created. And think about it, like this is something that we carry since a fucking child. So it's decades. It's something we're not aware of. We're not aware of our own suffering. Why? Because we've lived in it our entire lives. Like if you were to wear glasses coming into this reality, or lenses, let's say, and all these lenses had all these different colors on it, but you were born with it, you wouldn't know that you were even wearing it in the first place. Why? Because it's all you've ever known. It's literally all you've ever known. Now, swap the colors for limiting beliefs. Swap it for the sufferings and the identities that we carry and how we show up. It's the exact same. We don't know who we actually are. Why? Because we've never been that person. Up until now, for most of us, we're just a program, a copy-pasted version of the generational trauma passed down by society, our parents, our caretakers, whoever that really is. And it's getting down to the absolute meat of that. And when we can strip that away, when we can get that onion layer and just strip it away, then we tap into just magic. Absolute magic, the essence of who we are, our own message, our own purpose. Then we can just be more of ourselves. And that's only then. So I'm going to say this again. If you have any questions, please. I know it's a long video, but it's also a short video in comparison to how much is involved in this process, and I will create more videos about it. So please, you're absolutely in safe hands here, or there's someone out there too that is going to help or guide, which is the universe, we could say. So we have the present moment, the negative emotions that we're experiencing, the circumstances that we don't like. It's based in perception, this perception of self. It's always going to go back to the self. That self is something that we have learned. Where have we learned it? It's going to be in the root of the physical reality. The root is childhood. We look at the childhood and we can connect the dots as to where we learned it. It might be a memory, it might just be some accumulated experiences of what has happened or what has not happened, which is a different topic for another day. We want to focus right now on what was not there and what did happen. And when we can identify what the internalization, that little inner child made about ourselves, and it's always going to be an I am statement. It's going to be very, very succinct, very short. I am broken. I don't matter. I am not responsible. And we allow it to be there. And just holding that deeper sense that it's not a truth. It's just something that we have learned. It's a story, it's a narration that we carry with, and it's how we show ourselves to be. But if it's not an absolute truth, isn't the absolute truth that I am not wanted? No. Okay. And how does that make me feel now? Like, it's not a truth, it was a story. And me personally, I will go, and just a little smile on my face. That's okay. Yeah, I've lived that way, but it's okay. I don't need to live that way anymore. I was like, okay. So without that mental constraint, if it's no longer a truth and it's no longer something that I am now attached to, then how would I show up? I was like, well, I can put myself out there. I can express myself. There's no sort of judgment anymore. Judgment isn't something that I would see as critical. It's not a reflection of me. I always thought it was, because I would take it personal because I was holding the identity that I'm not wanted. But now with that self-discovery, it's a reflection about themselves. It's a bit more on the deeper side, but if I am wanted, or the dissolution of I am not wanted, then the essence has got to come out, and there's going to be more attraction of opportunities, of partners, of self-love, forgiveness, all of it. It's going to be a journey. It's awareness. That's all we really are. We're just awareness, having a subjective perspective of this reality. Okay? And when we can, I'll put the camera here, when we can sit with that, then it starts to shift. Then that is absolutely everything. So, when we look at the body now, that's the mind. We can look at the body, and that's a very short version of this work. I do recommend for you to watch the first video that I've made on this. And we look at the body somatically. There's going to be emotions stored there. Now, I don't know much about the nervous system. I only know how to do it practically. Let's pretend you came to that awareness of the I am not wanted. Well, for me, whilst I'd be doing that, I'm also observing what tension or emotion is in the body. So if you were to go and find out what that identity was, and you were to resonate with it, then my assertion is there's instantly going to be some sort of emotion that comes up. There's got to be. There's no real emotion that comes up. Then for me, it's more intellectual. It's like, yeah, like I thought that I wasn't liked by people and I wasn't rejected, but like that's not true. But it's only intellectual. For me, the embodiment is naturally when somatically And with the mind, that there's going to be just some sort of emotion. It doesn't have to be crying as such, but there's going to be anger there or something to work with. And in relative to the mind work, this part, there is a part 2 where we focus on the body first, not on the mind, which I'll talk about right after. But for this process, realization that I am not wanted, we're just going to sit there. We're literally going to sit there. Get very comfortable. Don't lie down. Don't lie down. I mean, you can, with your head up high, I sit on my bed frame, not on it, but put the head on it. And it's just observing it. I was like, yeah. And I've done this for hours sometimes. There was one day, it was like 5-6 hours. And that's not to scare you at all. But when you're in that moment, and when you realize the transformation that you're really doing, somatically just allowing it all to come out, there's going to be maybe a lot of tears, a lot of crying. You might hold back. There might be emotions that come up that you might not have ever really experienced before. Might be a lot of loneliness or abandonment or rejection, fear, and it can be very deep. Might be suicidal thoughts or the idea of going back to our own addiction. It can be a shitstorm, but again, it's just holding that deep belief, that deep thought that it will pass, because it's not you. It's the soul that's going to come online. But we gotta honor what's there. If we don't honor what's there, then we're on it, act from that space still. We can just get down to the root and feel it. And just be with it. That's all the body is asking for, to just be with it, to sit with it. We sit with it long enough, then the body and the mind goes, oh, it's actually safe. Oh, it's okay. Oh, wow. I can actually be okay with this. Then it shifts. That's why those emotions there. There's an analogy that I love to use. There's a big party going on at John's house. Happiness is invited, depression, anger, joy, blissfulness, they're all invited. However, sadness is invited. He's not invited, she's not invited. Because everyone feels sad. So my story's a bit out there. But basically, it's everyone feels sad in the party. They would feel sad if sadness was invited. But because sadness is resisted against by all the other emotions, they all feel sad. Because he's not there. Because he's not even there. And when we can allow sadness to come into the party, then everyone is okay. Because everyone is accepted. Now, that is an analogy, of course. Please translate that to the body and to acknowledge that there's going to be emotions there that we might not have learned to truly feel or to truly express. Okay? And that is part of the work too. There's going to be emotions there that are going to feel foreign to us. Feelings that we might not even know what that actually feels like. Like for me, it was loneliness. I didn't know what loneliness actually really felt like until I did shrooms, until I had some psychedelic experiences. I was like, this is loneliness. And same for safety as well. There's my root chakra one time, and it was just activated. I was like, wow, this feels really scary. There's so much fear. And that was safety. I didn't know what that feeling was. I never felt it before, safety. And when I felt it, and after some time, when I just sat with it long enough and I allowed that fear to pass, those emotions, then I was like, there's just a massive release. Like an orgasmic fucking release. As crazy as it might sound. And oh my God. It was just the body recalibrating. If you really look at it, the body's simply learning how to live with what's going on in there. But the only thing that is in resistance to it is us. Like, without you, there's no problem. No identity, no problem. No memory, no problem. Now, of course, that's not a reality that we live in because we do have memory. But the thing that we can then do because of that, because of that knowing then, is to learn to live with it. And when we truly accept that, then it's part of us. Then it's integration. Then the identity that we hold and all the structures built upon it, they collapse because we have literally accepted it. That's all we're doing. Collecting our wounded selves from different timelines and realities into the now present moment. And when we can do that, our mind stops getting distracted from different timelines focused on the past or worrying about the future, and then it's just pure presence. Then we can just be one here with ourselves. But we have to honor that part of us, that emotion that is within us, that we've blocked, that we have learned that it's not okay. It's absolutely okay. But we got to be there with it. And when we can just sit there with it after some time, transformation. Absolute transformation. Okay? So mind and the body. Next part. There might be times where we don't really know how to intellectualize, how to commentate upon the narrative that we're currently living in, any sort of trigger. Okay? So for me, if we go back to the second example that I gave about work, and there's a lot of anxiety that would come up and a lot of pressure that would come up, what we're going to do is, and my shaman taught me this, absolutely powerful. Not at the start. I thought it was a bit, what the fuck is this at the start? But over some time, when you just get the consistency with it and allow it to be here, then we can allow it to just feel, to absolutely feel into it. So what we're going to do, you can't see my stomach right now, but we're going to have 2 feet planted on the ground. We're going to sit up straight and we're going to put our hands on the belly, on the chest, whatever feels comfortable. And we're just going to breathe into it. We're going to have a deep breath, not forceful. I never want to forceful. That's something I'm going to talk about as well after this part. Never force. You absolutely do not force. You're doing damage. You might think you're doing goodness, but that thought that you're doing goodness comes again from the conditioned self. You want to kind of just on that balance. Not too soft, but not too forceful at all. Not too hard. Just within that sweet spot where it's uncomfortable, where your mind's going to say, I don't want to do this anymore, but you have that capacity to be there, and it is sustainable over quite some time for you to do it. So what you're going to do is, you're going to breathe into the belly, and you're going to hold it there. You're just going to hold it there. And when you breathe into the belly, and you just hold it there, when it's at like its most inflated part, that's when you really feel the emotion. Might be anxiety, might be sadness. Usually in the chest, it's tension when we breathe up into the chest. And you might just feel some tightness there. Sit with that. It's going to feel very uncomfortable. And there might, like, you could do that for, and I don't want any time limit. Unless like there is a time constraint there, but if there's any thought of, I'm just going to do this for 2 minutes and then fuck that, I'm not doing it anymore, I take that off my task to-do list, or I'm going to just see how this goes, and your mind will instantly say, no, this doesn't work. No, it's not okay. No, let's stop doing this. It's a waste of time. Just say to yourself, I'm going to try this. And if there's any sort of thought that comes up that disturbs me, just for this moment, just observe it and go back to the presence, that emotion. The more attention we put on that emotion, we get more present with that emotion itself, then we allow it to go. But the only way for it to go is to truly accept it. And again, it is paradoxical, but we don't want to hold any sort of thoughts that this is going to go, it has to go. No, get so present with the emotion, with that sensation within the body, that over some time, you're going to get very grounded. The body is going to relax. There's no more fight or flight mode. And we can just ease up, we can soft. And then we can start to either ask questions, and I don't want any sort of seeking for a different identity, any sort of root cause. I just ask the question, where's this thought coming, or where's this feeling coming from? Where's this sensation coming from? Now, it's good that I have a pillow here. I do it for my own time. It's going to be sadness. And unfortunately, for a lot of humanity, anger is frowned upon. Anger is not something to express. Anger is bad. But it's a literal emotion. Like, that is who we are based on feeling. It's just an emotion that we haven't learned to express. Well, then that's life itself that we are rejecting. We're literal feeling. Who are we without feeling? Who are we without the body? Well, we're nothing. And it might be hard for some of us to express that. To not be okay with feeling XYZ way, because we've learned something that was bad for it, or it was wrong. But when we can accept that it's something that we have learned, and we can have the opportunity now to build a better relationship with that emotion, then we can start to shift it. And for me, anger is definitely the big one. And at the start, I'm still just a tiny bit now, I might be a bit concerned about it. When I'm breathing, and most of it is right in the solar plexus for me, I'd feel anger. And you gotta breathe into it. And the anger, like, you might feel some of it being channeled up to the chest, to the throat. And you might just feel like an energy here. If it's anger, I'd love for you to get a pillow. If you want to really create a safe space, like, go somewhere else, or just let people know that, hey, you might hear some screaming, some shouting, loud noises. I just say that, yeah, I'm meditating or I'm doing my practice, and that you might hear something, but it's okay. If you could not disturb me, that'd be okay. I'm just doing my own thing. And you're going to get a pillow and just going to absolutely scream into it. Absolutely scream as loud as you feel, as loud as you want. Let that anger out of you. Like, that's a constructive way to start feeling that anger. Not to express it to other people and then thinking that you're bad, or that you can't express any anger, or maybe you hold it in the entire time, and when someone just gets to you and the boiling pot of water just starts to overspill, well, we don't got to do that anymore. We don't. This is learning. It's developing a beautiful relationship with every emotion. Learning how to express it. That's what this somatic breath work really is. That's honoring the body. So crying, any sort of emotion, let it be there and observe it. Okay? So that's the mind, that's the body. I gave a real life example. When to do the work. I'm going to talk about this triggers. I'm going to touch on this slightly. Triggers are gifts. They show us where we're not free. They are the opportunities for us to reflect back on ourselves. No different to feeling any sort of pressure, beating ourselves up. If you want to really look at it, if you want to go deeper and have full responsibility, maybe our parents pissed us off. Maybe like our dads just do this one thing and it just gets us instantly. Maybe one of our close friends, they're just really getting to us, our partner. Maybe there's just this, I don't like that. Guess what? They're trying to show you something about yourself. And there is going to be a balance. Like applying this to a prison, going into a prison or a psych ward. Yeah, like there's going to be some boundaries that are going to be crossed perhaps. But for the most part, reality is only ever going to show us who we are, how we think, how we show up about ourselves. Okay? So when a trigger comes up, maybe it's in work and you felt rejected, and the mind is going to go, nah, 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 and it's going to project, it's going to look outwards, but just allow us some time, honor it, give it space, and then take the responsibility of, what do I make that about me? Where do I show up? Where this energy is evident. And again, just bring it back to the self. Bring it back to the self. With compassion, with love, with that kindness. And just be there with it. And just get curious. Okay, where did I learn that? Okay, what do I make that mean about me? So these are the golden times to do it. And if you're watching this and you haven't done any sort of work like this, there's going to be something in your life right now. I don't want you to seek for it as such, but I'm sure there's going to be something there. And then over some time, you do this same process again and again, practically. And you're going to feel such a shift that you'll know when to do it. You absolutely will. It's not something that you seek and you look at. And what I have next, what not to do, is to seek it. So, okay, I did this. I got to do it again. No, you're going to do it when you feel it's the right time. And that might take a balance. You're going to make mistakes with this. So just accept it. Absolutely. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't beat yourself up about it. Learn. Fall forward, I say. Learn as you go. And the mistakes that are there, well, that's going to be the absolute turning points to receive that feedback and to show up differently then the next time. Input, process, output, feedback. You receive that feedback and then you show up and you do it differently. More improved, you develop your techniques, your own methods for it, and then you start to shift again. But please do not look for the answer, sit with it. Maybe you might self-inquire and ask a load of questions about the mind and you're just getting very exhausted with it and you don't know. Sit with the body. I always, if you can, sit with the body first, unless when this work gets very snappy, very quick and developed, then the mind might just come up with the identity out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere. It's quite magic. Again, it's taken some time to practice. Not always, but I might just, oh yeah, that triggered me. And then 5 seconds later, it's I'm not XYZ or any sort of identity belief that comes up. And I'd be able to identify that belief from the present moment rather than connecting it back. Now I will connect it back because somatically it allows me to release. Not always, as we don't want to look at the past and stay stuck there. We're only using that as a tool itself and to honor the ego. But again, there's no force within this. It's just to honor the parts of us that were not honored and to allow those mental loops to dissolve, any sort of emotion that was not felt to feel, so that we can transform it. And you might not feel the transformation right away, but keep doing it. If you got any questions with it, if you feel a bit stuck with it, that's okay too. You can reach out to me. We can do a session on it. If you've watched it from this video, I'd absolutely love to show you that in real time, go through the process with you. And when you experience it for the first time and you feel that shift, then responsibility really comes on board. Then any sort of judgment or any sort of lack of empathy that we might have for ourselves or anyone else, it's all going to develop. It's all going to shift. We're getting down to the core and we shift it there. Everything outside of us is going to improve. It's always going to add an accumulation towards our own experience, our own growth. And with shift, there might be times where we're going to lose something. We're going to lose something. It might be a relationship, or we might attract a partner and they might show us some lessons and some beautiful experiences along the way. It might be a few weeks, months, whatever that is, and then they might go. But again, it's all for our own evolution to just see how beautiful this world, this life really is. Again, I know that's very poetic, but with this work, it's just a rinse and repeat of integrating the shadow, of seeing our true light and the spirits activated. So that's it from me. I know this was a lot, it's a handful. Feel free to digest it. Absolutely feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to show you on a call, and we can start to see any sort of transformation with that. And again, just when we can be very light with ourselves, very soft at first, and to just acknowledge those parts of us that are wounded, we can take it step by step. We're stripping back those onion layers. We're simply allowing our true selves to come online. Okay? It's gonna be a process. But just remember, you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings. This is the program itself. Yes, it's something that we live in, absolutely. But it's just to have that deeper knowing that it's okay. And we'll just slowly start to disidentify ourselves with the parts of us that do not serve us. So that's it from me. Feel free to like this video, leave a comment. My name is Sean O'Reilly, and if you're interested in a call, you can look at the link down below. I'll be happy to jump on call with you and we can go through this further. Again, just an option. I feel we're all here as a team in humanity to shift all of it into a greater good for our own experience, and to see the beauty of all of this in the first place. And to do that, for me, it goes back to the core, down to the root. And this work has worked for me. Again, it might work for you, it might not. But if there's any sort of resonance to it, or you do want to try it, but just a bit of confusion, please let me know and we can work with that.